Do you believe that gluten's harmful based upon the scientific data? I'm a big proponent of being gluten-free. I found that's been very helpful to my health.
Not necessarily. I want people to be flour free and maybe bread free, but it's not. I'm not. But gluten only bothers like 1 in 30 people. So gluten is not a major factor for most people, but they're grinding the flour into a fine, into even whole wheat flour is usually ground to like a pastry flour and too highly glycemic. It's the glycemic effect of the flours and the addictive nature of high glycemic foods that make these foods so detrimental.
So it spikes blood sugar, spikes insulin, increases the risk of type 2 diabetes, causes weight gain. It's high calorie, it's high in salt. For those reasons, you don't like a lot of the breads, pastries, baked goods, and so forth.
That's correct. It's true that some people are affected negatively by gluten, but the majority of people, even if you look at some of these books on how bad, gluten is, if you look at their references, go through the references, 90% of the references are talking about the dangers of eating white flour, eating bread. It's not that they don't prove that gluten is the danger. It's eating the bread and the white flour that's the danger. White flour is an addictive substance. It overstimulates the brain. It causes a high amount of caloric rush. You know what caloric rush means? It means that you can only get caloric rush by eating oils, fried foods, or commercial baked goods and breads with pastry flours and white flours. You can put so many calories in the blood at one time that it overstimulates the areas of the brain where the same opiate and dopamine stimulating centers that are stimulated by drugs. And you become dopamine insensitive. And I'm oversimplifying this, but it makes you dependent on an excess amount of caloric rush. Then you have to eat fried foods. You're not satisfied with an apple. It has to be something like an ice cream or a bagel or fried. It has to be something more calories, more caloric rush. You're not comfortable with the right amount of calories anymore, and so it makes you into a food addict, and you're not comfortable consuming the right amount of calories. And almost everybody in America is a food addict because they're unhealthy, they're overweight, and they're not comfortable if they eat the right amount of calories. They're uncomfortable eating the right amount of calories. They're uncomfortable trying to eat the healthy diet. So what I'm saying that when you eat healthfully, you not only start to gravitate towards your ideal weight and lose weight effortlessly, but you feel comfortable eating the right amount of calories. You feel uncomfortable eating excessive amounts of calories. But there's a process in which we have to change people's instinctual drive for calories that's been taken away from them by the eating processed foods, commercial baked goods, and fast foods.
I fully agree. If I had absolute authority over our foods, if I could make one rule in the world, it would be to make high fructose corn syrup illegal, because I think it's so dangerous. It promotes fat storage. It doesn't even turn off our hunger. It actually increases hunger. I don't think people understand that when you consume high fructose corn syrup, and it's usually in processed foods that have no fiber anyway, the high fructose corn syrup promotes fat storage more so than regular sugar, and it doesn't turn off your hunger signals.
Are you saying that there's cocaine, there's heroin, and there's really bad heroin? Is that what you're saying? Because sugar and white flour are bad enough. And agave nectar is just that are all really bad.
I've been telling people agave is basically, it's high fructose corn syrup masquerading as health food, as expensive health food.
Correct. It's even a more fructose than high fructose corn syrup does. I think high fructose corn syrup. It's worse. I think fructose corn syrup is about 60% fructose, and agave nectar is like 80% fructose. It's even worse. And it goes right to...
So it as a health food. This is like as bad as aspartame, NutraSweets. Like, oh, it's 0 calories. This is great for you. Do you have any thoughts on aspartame? I've gotten to a discussion with another social media health expert who's claiming that there's no science to show that aspartame increases the risk of diabetes or that it spikes blood sugar, insulin. He may be right with that, but the link with diabetes is very strong. I love your thoughts on aspartame.
What he's saying is irrelevant because the use of even the lower calorie sweeteners, even though they don't spike blood sugar or link to diabetes, it's that they keep people addicted to things being excessively sweet. They keep lighting the fire under their desires to be wanting high sweetened substances. So they perpetuate food addiction. So we're talking here about, I'm having a completely different, a whole different way of thinking. There's no...
It's why you're saying it's irrelevant whether or not it increases type 2 diabetes. It perpetuates food addiction, and food addiction is from your perspective, is the primary cause of most disease, at least most disease in the United States.